Alright, man. Shalom. Start by saying all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Harakah, Kadash. Double honors unto the elder apostles of great Most Honorable rule well. And shalom to the hopeful elect. Alright, we're Hebrew Israelites who come out every week to prophesy the downfall of this kingdom in accordance with the Holy Bible. Alright, the end time prophecies that speak of America being known as Babylon the Great, the whore that sitteth upon the beast of many waters, which is the world. And prophecy of the MOTB, basically that RFID, that C-hit, that they want to put into all the people, establish a cashless society, and make everyone enslaved onto the beast system. Through doing so, we're going to bring about World War III in accordance with the prophecy in the Bible, and then bring about the Lord's return upon the earth. And when you hear about UFOs and the recent cracking open of all the information, with the American presidents, President Trump and all this type of stuff, they've been telling you about the UFOs or UAPs, getting people more aware of all the different things that basically speak to those things. That's for the coming end times, right? With right? So I don't know if you got anything.
Revelation 8 and 13. And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the three angels which are yet to sound.
I'll read it one more time.
And I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe.
Right, so there was an angel flying through the midst of heaven that basically said, woe, woe, woe. Now the word woe means destruction, but in this particular scripture it denotes, it spoke of three woes. Alright, those three woes denote the three world wars. Alright? Right now you had, going back to 1914, you had the Great War. At the time they called it the war to end all wars. It was the first time of a war being a great war, or world war so to speak, of such amazing firepower. We're talking about, bullets, machine guns, weapons, hand grenades, things of that nature. So these weapons could create great amounts of traumatic stress from people being in the midst of it, but actually traumatic, like very previous wounds and death, right? Totally different to when you had warfare with swords being swung, arrows, crossbows, and things of that nature. You know what's funny? I'm saying I sound like a Moab. They sent 10 L's to the R's. Problem. But I keep doing that. But basically, they had that level of artillery. So what happened is the trauma from the battlefields and the sound of the gunfire and all this different stuff basically brought about shell shock upon, those that survived that war. And as well as the injuries, a lot of people, they would have survived in the modern day era, but they weren't built. They didn't have paramedics and medics that are able to deal with that trauma from those attacks, right? So it done a lot to people. So you can imagine these guys have got open wounds and they don't have the means of dealing with it. It's not like a sword hitting you or nothing. We're talking about, gunfire, all right? So that was a great war. But then after that, you had World War II, all right? World War II, you had the dogfighters and things of that nature, all right? Revelation 9, actual chapter that precedes after, speaks about the dogfighters, where you had their face, I forget how it describes it, but it speaks about the, like Kaiser Wilhelm's helmet, and then, the way the different uniforms they wore and whatnot. Speaks about that, all right? But then what you had after that, you had the Cold War, right, where you had America and Russia, America rising to preeminence as a world power over the earth, all right, and basically establishing themselves by taking as well through the taking of the German scientists onto America, and Russia established themselves as a great power as well. So this now set the president, set the two rivals or oppositions at Lawrence go against each other, where it set up a thing known as a Cold War, and where people felt throughout that time World War III would come into play. All right, now that's the Heavenly Father's doing. All right, because it goes into hooks being brought into their jaws. All right, so there had to be a standoff, and for it to simmer down, for it to be brought back to bring about this Third World War. All right, destruction. So the point being is that these three world wars, you've seen two of them already, and technically you've seen a third ready to go down. All right, but now through means of time, because it wasn't a time, because why? They didn't have the weapons, the ICBMs. Right now you have the things known as a hypersonic missile, right? Intercontinental ballistic missiles, as I mentioned, the ICBMs. All these different forms of weapon warfare, even we're dealing with the prophecies for the sake of the MOTD, right? This is why this went into a Cold War and got held off and put on a shelf for it to come into fruition in its true means, right? So now, even now, when you deal with the carnal side, you had Albert Pike, I believe it's Albert Pike, basically set forth an agenda, a plan for 3 world wars to basically go forth to establish their new world order. So you can see on the right hand side with the prophecy of the Heavenly Father, going back to 90 AD with John the Revelator, showing you how long we've been privy to this information. But the guys that were actually going to do it came into account for them in the 1800s. So we had 800 odd years on them, all right? It shows you that the Heavenly Father gave us great power and mastery in terms of understanding the things that are going to fall upon the earth. But the point being, at the end of the day, is there's 3 world wars, right? And we're knocking on heaven. We're knocking on heaven's. We are knocking on heaven's door, because heaven's door, by this coming into play, it'll bring about the kingdom of heaven. Right? As it tells you in Revelation 21, I believe, or 20, where I saw New Jerusalem coming down from heaven. So we're knocking on the kingdom of heaven's door. And this is why now, when you deal with the EU, what came out? They said they're prepared. They're telling most of their people in their countries to prepare for World War III, to have 72 hours worth of food. All right? And even that's the thing we can go into. Yeah, Russell Brand got arrested because they're saying he raped someone. Now I even need to go and check the channel out. It's not even new news. As in when? It was a while ago. No, it's new.
I'm saying that the accusations.
I know.
It's just him being arrested is I mean, it's
no, but they did sign it before. Is an accusation now an old accusation?
No old accusation.
But this is my point though. It just shows you why they come and get him now. I want to know what he said as of late on his channel. What's he been going into?
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Because for them to come and get him now, he's been heavy into conspiracy theories. Right? 10 years ago, a decade ago, it wasn't so much.
But I'll say even with that, it's like he's on the. He would be in the control. I would look at it like he's in control opposition camp with how he's presented his stuff.
He's a shield, basically.
Yeah.
I still want to see why there may be something there.
I mean, yeah. This is that. I'm looking at it's a thing where, because the way he's been set up is like, because he got pushed big, even though it wasn't really. He got pushed big, but he wasn't really talking. So it's a lot of these guys, especially from when you get to C19 and lockdowns and whatnot, people that got picked up around then, I think it's controlled opposition, because a lot of them very resistant to like government and change and whatnot, and then Trump gets in and whatnot, and then Labour gets in and whatnot, and they kind of flip on some of these positions. But then it's more just like they're building like tensions just for what's pushing forward anyway. Because it's like what he's saying, there might be something there. I'm saying this, I'm gonna say he wasn't talking shit. He might have stepped on some toes or whatever. But then it's with the general push of like online discussion and so-called truthers and whatnot. A lot of them have been pushed into where they're now shilling for things from like current government and whatnot. Programs they would have been against 5-10 years ago. That's more why I'm saying controlled opposition. There might be something to it. I wouldn't automatically think. Yeah, I wouldn't jump to he's stepped on some toes. But that's just for me. There might be something to it. I don't know. Let's we can see. Because
Read it again.
Revelation 8:13, and I beheld and heard an angel flying through the midst of heaven, saying with a loud voice, Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet, the three angels, which are yet to sound. Yeah, those three woes. And the thing you've got, the most recent kind of strike as far as towards those conflicts is with these terrorists. Because a lot of conflicts is with Cuba, with Iran. What stokes it is the financial situation. The thing that pushed Iran to getting more adversarial was their economy being fucked. That was something from back in when Obizi was in his second term. Then their economy's basically been fucked from them. And then they've been working with Russia to kind of circumvent it. But then obviously since the war in Ukraine started, then Russia's also been cut off from certain things. So those economic squeeze that can push people to where they partake in that military conflict. And then you have it with a lot of these a lot of these different nations, they're feeling the squeeze now. The whole like Trump's tariffs going out, that's more or less allies and enemies of the US are feeling the burn. You had the whole economy basically lose. They said it's like I think since Trump got in, the economy shrunk by like 7 trillion to be cooked. And then what does that lead to? That leads to conflict. Excuse me. Yo.
It's me, man.
I know.
It's your mate.
I just realised.
Yeah.
You threw me off. I didn't know.
You didn't know. Come on. You're cool, isn't it?
How you doing?
You're cool. God, you got punch, isn't it?
Nah.
Next Mike Tyson.
Maybe.
Yeah, you related to him.
Possibly.
You should be do boxing.
I do a little bit.
Sorry, bro. I just wanted
Nah,
to...
it's all right. I was halfway. I didn't really know.
Sorry, I'll big jump in with you.
Sorry?
Sorry for a big mistake.
No, it's all right. It's all right.
Cool,
Yeah, that's
yeah?
why, yeah.
I'll go anywhere. Or...
It's all good, man. You alright, though?
Yeah, it's well. Yeah, not bad. Good day today.
Yeah, nice to see
Yeah,
you.
not bad. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm a laughing at you. It's just
Nah, no, yeah.
society, my earth, and
Yeah.
I relate to you somehow, yeah. I try to, innit?
Yeah.
I may look a bit of a scrum, I'm not.
Nah,
I did judge a book by its cover, man.
you never can.
I do. You don't. I'm usually right all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it
I
is.
think I'm
You
some
never know.
scallywag. I'm going to wind you up, you know
Nah,
that,
it's
yeah?
alright. Yeah.
I won't do it again.
Nah, it's alright. Don't worry.
Okay.
We had the sunglasses on. I just
Yeah, I've
reading
got
this.
all these, look, I made
And I was
them.
reading in my
I
phone
made
as well.
them, look.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Police are all hassling at the road.
Yeah.
Oxford Street, you know HED?
Yeah.
Like them police cars, I might go to the news tonight, watch it.
Why?
I don't know, I asked them, but I don't know. There's something going on.
I'm probably gonna have a look.
Yeah, have a look. See you later, yeah?
Take care.
I'll mess you on.
Nah, it's alright, man. Don't worry about it. Yeah, you just threw me off. I wasn't really ready for
I
that.
thought you liked that.
You got me. It's alright, man. Nice.
I was silly, don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm a bit
Probably
serious.
slap me up next time.
No. Trust me.
They're following me, I swear. I think I'm Bengali's terrorists. I'm English, man. I'm English. I can think these foreigners. I've got a beard, that's it.
But that's what it is. Now, if you get a beard,
I'm a bit dark, I'm a bit jumped on, my skin's a bit. Yeah, I'm the sunlight from times, but not a tangle. Yeah, and a beard, I must be, I always have a beard.
Yeah, it's better than being red like the monster in the car.
Yeah, cook in the sun. It's bad skin tone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ladies, yeah. No, my sin scund is fine, boy. I'll see you later, yeah? I won't mind you next.
Nah.
See you later.
Man, take care.
Have a good day, yeah?
You too. I was halfway in the phone.
No, I could tell. That's why I was like, 'cause I recognize it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. So, who the fuck is that?
Yeah, I saw the shades. I was like, oh, I recognize that. I recognize that bitch.
Yeah.
And then you got something on there.
I got a bit of an article. So this is from economictimes.com. It says World War III soon, question mark. European Union tells 450 million people to stockpile food supplies amid risk. Right?
Bus lane with two buses coming up. Like, oh, okay.
Crazy bus. Well, definitely. But I was gonna say, when did Trump do the what date was it? It's the 1st of April, right? When he done his thing.
Like Thursday?
Thursday. So it's like 3rd or something.
It's the second?
Second, yeah, April 2nd or something. So this is way before this even happened with Trump. Because Trump's even feeding into, this might have been predicted off the back of what Trump was going to do with the tariffs. But the fact that they're saying this, right, is quite big.
The thing is he initially he initially announced the tariffs, but then he delayed them till April.
Okay.
So they knew it was coming, but then that's why it was like April 1st. They're kind of like, oh, what's it gonna be? But then it was for everyone. It was more than expected. But that's what I was gonna say.
Yes. So it says the European Union has urged its citizens to stockpile enough food and other essential supplies to sustain them for at least 72 hours if crisis happens. And the key word there in that sentence is at least 3 days. Alright? So it says, the European Commission has said, in case of extreme disruptions, the initial period is the most critical. Right? Because they say they've only got 3 days worth of supply of food, right? In a shop. So worst case scenario, you can't get no more supplies for that 3-day period, you're good. But then after that, you got forgotten basically. Like, but the reality is, you never know. It could be longer than that 3-day period. You may be in a rural area. Even you may be in a city centre, which would be a worse even scenario because they got to get it from not from Calais, from Dover, and drive it in. Right, and even with a new thing, because it's not in the EU, the processing that it takes for food or whatever items to come across from the European Union, well, this is talking about EU, I'm talking about over there, right? But, you know, whatever the circumstance may be, it'll be difficult for them to gain resources, right? So, reading on it says, the document says, setting out possible scenarios from war to cyber attacks and deadly disease to climate-driven floods, reports Politico. In a fresh guidance issued on Wednesday, you know what you should read? Matthew 24. I know you can say thing down, you must read it. I'll read that one more time. So it says, so I'll read this whole paragraph again. The European Union has urged its citizens to stockpile enough food and other essential supplies to sustain them for at least 72 hours if crisis happens. The European Commission has said, in case of extreme disruptions, the initial period is the most critical. The document says setting out possible scenarios from war to cyber attacks and deadly disease to climate-driven floods, reports Politico.
So I read this, Luke 21:25. It says, "And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, the seas and the waves roaring." And then perplexity is, what is it, aporia, I believe?
Good look out
Yeah, aporia, which is to be in a state of perplexity. Then the root word aporeo is to be without resources, to be in straits, to be left wanting. So
is that oh, God, I'm sorry. No. Say your point. And then I'll jump.
yeah, to be without resources. So what they're talking about, the EU, that guidance is basically in line with that scripture, being without resources. Because that's the reality of it is that 3 days is optimistic, but that's really just to not make people panic.
Worry.
If you say like, oh, have a month's worth of resources, there's people that are going to be like they're just going to be toast. Oh man, did he get it or not? I was thinking. No, he didn't. I think he's still there. I was thinking, I was like, why is his face covered? And I was like, the way the back's out. Yeah, I was like, that don't look like he's delivering the Uber Eats. I said, what is it? Is it back? The phone snatching too.
Like, only here. I call it, hey, other side of the Thames, go down there, you cross over Waterloo. None of them niggas are doing that shit. You know why? Because they know South London.
Yeah, no, you might. Yeah.
Someone's going to shoot you on your back. Like, you know? They can do it in the city centre.
Yeah.
Because them guys, they're from North. A lot of them, they're from Israel. They're like, either from Israel. Like, it's like Angel, that's why they go around here. They wouldn't dare go South London because they know it's a bit too much for them to handle. That's more like an Islington kind of crime, like burglary, theft. Yeah, that's what they're like. So that's why I know when I'm walking in South London, I can walk like this. I could be flipping.
I was like, why would you
try to
do it for an example? You know, bro.
I could walk around, flip my phone or whatever. But over here, you can't do that. Because it's basically an opportunity crime. They know there's a lot of tourists over here.
Yeah.
So they can do it, innit?
So a lot of people, they might report the phone stolen as well.
A lot of people ain't from London, so they don't know that. They don't kind of know, like, the spiel. Like, they don't know the play. So if you're not from it, you're going to kind of be a bit like...
Well, you don't know. Overseas in general, it might be like, it'd be even more, it's like you don't speak the language as well.
Yeah, no, of course. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what it's like. If I go to Spain, Barcelona, if I go to Paris, certain parts of I don't know what to do. Yeah, I could be in the middle of a fucking turf war. I've got no idea because I'm not from it.
We read it again. To be without resources, to be in straits or apparel. To be without resources, to be in straits, to be left wanting. And that's really the state. I was saying, with the 3 days, that's an optimistic expectation. You could just look at the pandemic lockdown. They said it was going to be 2 weeks. That shit went on for years before it fully opened back up. Because why? It was a thing where, whatever the expectation was, it went far above and beyond like how they thought was gonna manage it. And then that's the thing is if conflict kicks off, the 3 days thing, that's based off, that's a fairy tale. That's an illusion. That's not based off anything. That's if there might be, really that's on the expectation of there might be a temporary power outage, or there might be some kind of one small one-off event. kind of a thing. But then when it comes to actual, let there be an actual, let's say Poland does actually get invaded, then that's going to be just like with Ukraine. That'll be a long-term conflict starting up. And then just like how you had certain goods that were coming out of Ukraine or Russia, or that might have needed to pass through certain trade routes, then those things went up in price. The price hasn't gone down. The war's still going on. The price hasn't returned to how it was before. Bread, grain, all those things, they're still more expensive. So to be without resources, that's going to be the norm. That's just going to be an expectation. That's just going to be how people are dealing with it. It's the same thing with now. You've got energy prices going up. You got food prices going up. You got all kinds of things going up just in general before you even get to the tariffs. The tariffs on top, that's just extra.
Look up the root word of the word look up.
Perplexing. Already did.
The root of the root.
Well, appareo.
Is that the way it was?
Yes, appareo, then appareo.
Oh, okay.
That's just what I was saying.
Oh, okay. With this little root.
Well, the point I wanted.
No, I'm just saying. I just want to
flaws with that.
That's
general.
Because it might build up more. That's why I was curious.
The point I wanted to bring up was
No, I know I know you were point. I'm just saying I'm curious to know if there's.
No, I think that's why. Well, I'm saying that as far as I ain't looked deeper than that, because it's more or less the word that's in But to say, verse 26, men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And yeah, that's as far as people going into that distressed state, into that perplexed state, that's just going to hold over. There's not going to. That's the thing is the mindsets. The same thing with MAGA. The same thing with like Brexit, with reform. They're thinking there's some means to claw back to a prior state of how things were in society, but that's just not going to run.
That's what they need
dreaming
to
of
give
going
them
back to a certain
as an incentive. That's what's incentivizing the people, because you feel like you can claw back something that you had before. So, by rallying the people, that's what keeps up the morale for that fight. So people become more and more invested in it. But basically they're feeding their energy into what? Into establishing the beast system, unbeknownst to them. Whether it be in terms of like, they may do it in a way that is against the system, but it's going to galvanize whatever is necessary for that system to be put in place. For example, like the glory, the good old boys, or them going into the White House, when Trump didn't make it. That might seem like, homegrown terrorism. You know what I mean? Now we've got to be more alert of that. So it feeds and it builds a narrative. So now they can bring about, the 1033 program, where they need to militarize the police. They need to give the people less rights and the police more powers. All right? So they can bring about a peace system. So this is why these things are happening. Go ahead.
No, that's it. Because the key thing with it is that ideal they're striving for. That's the prior state. You can't go back to that prior state. It's the same thing with Rome. When you watch the first Gladiator movie, the whole appeal of what Marcus Aurelius is trying to go for is the Republic of Rome, a level of prosperity, wealth, of affluence of that Roman Republic returning back to it. And they think, we can go from being an empire back to being a republic, then we can gain back the state of how things were at the time. But then the reality of it is that's not going to come to pass. as far as for how things are functioning now, like how you then just gonna be like, okay, we're gonna flip everything. That's something that is sold as an ideal, but it's not possible in reality. Because when you look at how empires are set up, kingdoms are set up, and they'll run for a certain time, they have a certain level of prominence, but then what? That's something that the Lord granted onto them. They had that time where they'll come into power. They had the time where they'll build up and rule, and then they might have a certain amount of territories or regions they'll rule over. But then what? Then the next system of rule, the next person to receive the crown is going to start to rise up and come against them. That's what happens when you Medio Persians going into the Greeks, going into the Romans. It wasn't like they just materialized out of the ground as soon as the one group of people went down. They were there and they were in the cut. Then what? They slowly built up. And what's coming next? The kingdom of heaven. And that's something that we've seen build up over time to where now it's immensely prominent. Now it's basically flooding out the entire internet. All the things that have been spoken of in prophecy by the prophets. All these things are what markers that the kingdom of heaven's coming. These things are coming to pass. The marker, the MOTB, those are things that now is spoken about as general discussion. You got products you can point to. People are like, oh, Neuralink, oh, these particular kind of implants. Before it would be like, oh, there's no way that. Now you can't even say that. There's people walking around with it jammed in their head.
And you had the movies a decade ago, and plus you can go back to like Total Recall, or other movies. You know, you can go back, and you can go as recent as with Johnny Depp. What was the movie with Johnny Depp?
Oh,
Transcendence. You got Lucy with Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
You got a myriad of movies, right?
Yeah, kind of feed into that. But then what? There's all that feeds into prophecy being fulfilled.
Oh, the one with J-Lo did, where she was really, it was a shit movie, man. I fucking hate that part. J-Lo. That's how I know it's a real hate. Because I ain't called no bitch a target. You know, fucking donkeys.
Just her in particular. Those are thinking,
but in that movie, you know, it was recent, it was a Netflix movie.
Oh,
She's
okay,
probably
yeah.
like, I don't want to mind with this. And then she finally does it. It's like the best thing ever. I said, this is fucking, this is like, you know, Neuralink.
Propaganda. The same, there's another one was an upgrade as well. As a more recent one. I say recent. I think it was like 2018, 2019.
Let me read this to back up what you're saying about the prophets and all this stuff. Amos 3 and 6. Shall a trumpet be blown in a city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord Yahweh have not done it? Surely the Lord power Yahweh will do nothing, but he revealeth his secrets unto his servants, the prophets.
Yeah, revealeth his secrets unto his servants, the prophets. That's the thing is how do you even discover who the false prophet is and who the true prophet is? You know, one of them's ordering the pegging kit to come to the yard.
I forgot about that.
And the other one's just speaking on the things that are to come, and then in tune with the spirit. That's the thing is what proves the prophet is when the word comes to pass. And that's the thing, it's cold in how the words come to pass. It's a level to where people can't really say anything. People in the world are now being like, oh damn. They'll come and ask certain things like, oh, what do you think about this? Because why? They're now seeing these things come to pass. And that's the thing, it's because might have been talking about it so long ago, then it's just like, it's looking like, yo, hold on. Maybe there's something to this. It gives credibility. But then now, you know, those are fucking mess. That's the thing is you go to other religions, man, they're not going to them for their prophecies. Man, are not asking about the Dajjal or about the jinns, about what else there? I don't even know. Whatever the Pegasus that's gonna come, the Pegasus with what's his face on it, Muhammad on it. They're not asking about Islam because why? That's as far as when it comes to prophecy, they've not got a horse in a race. They know it all goes. It goes to the scriptures, to the Bible. You want more?
No, I don't have more now. Jeremiah 28:8. The prophets that have been before me and before the old, prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is prophecy is synonymous with the scriptures. That's why you go into the empires that came before as well. They were spoken of in prophecy. That's something that scholars go into, and they'll be like, okay, they'll line up. Okay, this lines up with the Babylonian Empire. This lines up with the Medo-Persian Empire. This lines up with Greeks. You know, they're going into history. They line up as well. Those things were spoken of before, then came to pass. And then that's why it comes to what the beast, the last leg of the Roman Empire, or the feet and the 10 toes. They're trying to work those things out. Because why? They know there's something to it. There's something they can gain from understanding what kingdom that applies to, and you know what it says. Because why? They're trying to understand the prophecy. It's really the average Joes in the world. They're not aware of how significant that information is.
Well, the best way to know that is when you go back to Egypt with Joseph and his interpretation, or the true interpretation of Pharaoh's dream. Through that interpretation, it allowed Pharaoh to gain so much power and mastery over his kingdom that he took away sovereignty from within Egypt. He basically amassed all the power unto himself. And then with that as well, he established Egypt as a world power, a world dominant force. So the power of prophetic understanding is basically control, because you know what's going to happen. So you get that heads up that you know, okay, cool, this is coming. You know, on this day, a flood's going to come, so I don't need to be here. Or I need to build an ark. On this day, you know, something's going to happen, so I need to run away and go over there. So you're going to basically know and understand what to do. So these elites, the Illuminati, the enlightened ones, they basically are hip to certain things, and more so to the point of they're actually enacting these things. They're making these things come into play. Alright?
Yeah, they're trying to use it to their own benefit. But then that's the thing with, as far as with prophecy, it's you can't speak out of our own heart. Doing that would make you a false prophet. This is something where it's what it's going to be is what it's going to be. And that's the main point of contention. Because with the prophets, that's really what upsets people when interacting with them. They're generally within an empire, within a kingdom, within a system. They want that to perpetuate. It's the same thing now. People want this place to continue as is. But then the reality is the curses, they've been sent out. The judgments have been set. I'll read this.
I got more, because it's a great Verse 9. The prophet which prophesieth of peace, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that the Lord Yahweh truly sent him. So that's the point. The proof is in the pudding. I could say tomorrow it's gonna rain like cats and dogs. Alright? Like it's gonna rain men. I could say that. It's raining men tomorrow. If it don't rain men tomorrow, then it don't mean nothing. I can say the most outlandish shit. Tomorrow you're gonna see pigs fly and you're gonna drop piglets out of their vaginas while they fly. Now, I can say the most outlandish shit. Someone can say, yeah, I believe that's gonna happen. And then everyone could believe it. But the only reason why is what makes it actually come into makes it a reality if it happens. Right? So these words that we speak, they're true because they're not our words. These are words of the Heavenly Father. Alright? And at the end of the day, they're gonna come to pass when the time is appointed. Alright? And that time is very soon, as we can see.
Second Ezra 16:14 says, behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled and shall not be put out, till it consumed the foundation of the earth. Like as an arrow which is shot out of a mighty archer, returneth not backwards, even so the plagues that shall be sent upon the earth shall not return again. Yeah, they've basically been, just like a bow. You see the bow and arrow, you can notch the arrow, you pull back, and then you let it fly. Once it's let go, it's basically going to fly. It doesn't, just flip and turn back and then just reholster itself. No, it just flies, it hits the target, or it doesn't.
What's that guy from Guardians of the Galaxy? It ain't one of those arrows.
Yeah. Where he whistles and then control, yeah.
No, once it's gone. Alright? That's basically what's going on. And this is what this destruction is likened onto. It's something that the Heavenly Father is allowed to let go, and it's already been set into motion. Right? Whether you like it or not, the cogs of the machine are running, they're working. The gears are clicking into place.
And that's the thing is with the prophets, they're just the messengers.
We have no reign, no power to say, Lord, the Most High. We have our allocated power, right? There is some power that we do have, all right. But in terms of, like we could say we can liken it onto Jonah, all right? Where Jonah, Jonah is part of the story, but we can liken it onto Nineveh, where they basically fasted and they prayed, and they got a bit of grace and mercy. Ultimately, they'll still destroy it. Do you know what I mean? But why? We're partaking in the suffering of this, right? We're not going to say to the Most High, give them some time. No, we're right now.
Yeah, and regardless, the time's been set as well.
That's it.
That's the thing, is the hour. It's not even like time can be put. The hour's been set, and then that's only the Most High knows that time.
This is a fucking channel for me. I'm saving your life. You don't even know how much wind I'm taking for you to be calm. Licking me down.
Says what? Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? And yeah, that's how cold it is. The thing with the judgment is as well, is evil. As with the judgment as well, as far as just being a prophet, doesn't even mean you're not gonna taste when these things start coming into their fullness. There's some of us where we're going to have to experience all kinds of fuckery as well. But then also there are those where they might be safe from it, where they might, have powers put onto them, they might do miracles or do certain things. But it's really a mindset where you need to be ready for, like, fuck it, whatever it is you're just going to have to hold it and do it. Because that's the thing, is the biggest illusion or dream of not just this society, but all of them, is their houses shall continue forever. They think that they'll continue living and in that state, whatever state they're in, forever. They think it's just like, even Rome. The idea of Rome was they were thinking like, pursue and draw whatever. But then that got to a point where it was done. That whole spirit came to an end. Same with the Babylonians. Same with the Medo-Persians, the Greeks. Everyone who's had their time, they've had their hour, they've had their little piece. They think, they're gonna maintain that, because why? Having the rules sweet. These guys are crazy. Having the rules sweet. Who the hell wants to go back to being a nobody? But that basically comes down to the Lord, where the Lord's gonna let you continue or not. And then ultimately, when you go to Daniel chapter 2, the end's going to be what? It's all the different kingdoms. They're going to be taken out, man. There's not going to be any residue of a next rulership to come up.
Take them out. That's even in Daniel, right? Or Jeremiah. About to be set and it can't be moved. There's multiple scriptures. Even the sealing of the elect. This is like this is something that's bound by the law of the Heavenly Father, by His word, right, which he puts above his name, because his word actually gives his name all of that power, because he says it and it comes to pass. That's what gives him his credence. Alright? So when you deal with it, the point I'm making is, he said that basically this word has to go out to the four corners of the earth, but once the elect is sealed from hearing it, what's going to happen? Basically the structure is going to be flooded into place. So this is something that's like, which booby trapped, like the booby trap set in place. The elect, okay, it's still boom, destruction. Let's get the ball rolling.
Daniel 2:44, and in the days of these kings shall the power of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And that's the thing is that when you go into the statue, you go into the beast, there was one time, one system where the heathen passed the crown around, and that lasted for a while. That's why you have things like Game of Thrones, where you have different power allocated in portions to different places. Just like now you've got America, Babylon the Great is at the top, but then Russia's been pieced off a bit, China's been pieced off a bit, and then all these different countries and rulers are basically vying for control. Even with the EU, they basically gave a portion of their power onto Babylon the Great, onto the whore for a season. But then that's something as far as for the times of now. When you get into the kingdom of heaven, then as it says, a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. Yeah, it's not going to be in the hands of the heathen. As far as for Israel, they'll set up as rulers, essentially, as governors, to basically bear rule over the earth, bear rule over the whole universe, really. And that's the role they'll set with. But then to get the fullness of it, essentially we're given like a little a journey, a story, just a form of development, like character development, let's say, where Cain seemingly perfected, but then there was he fell, and then had to essentially go through a variety of experiences to then build up to being worthy of perfection. And then but then that's why it's like rather it's not going to go like how it went in the garden when Adam fell. Will basically be like perfected to where there'll be no avenue for us to fall. There'll be no means for us to be enticed by sin or fall to sin. There'll be no need for death as far as for Israel. Because why? Perfection. Able to keep laws of perfection. The laws are basically made as a means of propagating life. And then we have here as the key example of the opposite. When you don't have that propagation of life, then what you get? Death just around every corner, underneath every rock. Slimy and grim. All forms of confusion. Everything, the air you breathe, the ground you walk on, the food you eat, the water you drink, everything's been corrupted. So then we know how to value even more so when we do have things in order, when things are kept in a righteous state. Shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. For so much as thou sawest, the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and then break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. The great power hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. Yeah. So after now we're in the period of what? The clay and iron and miry clay. Now is the time of that last kingdom, the feet and the 10 toes. But then what comes after is basically going to be completely new and fresh, and it's needed. Everything that see how things are conducted within the society, and then it makes even more evident why the kingdom is needed. Israel's in a destroyed state. Israel's in need of healing, soothing balm. But then so is everyone else. No one's really out here able to experience and enjoy the fullness of the wealth. Because why? Even the elite, they've got the abundance of everything. They've got the fatness of the earth. They've got everything, well, almost as they desire. And still yet, the thing that ails them is what? They're still going to die. They know that there's a time limit, there's a gap, a stopper that's been put on as for how far they can go.
Alright, let me read that now. Job 14:5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass.
Yeah, but the bounds have been set that you can't pass. And that's the thing is you can look at, that's why you go to prior kingdoms. As much as people laud Rome and Greece, you go to the Roman Empire, they'll give you the year it began, the year it ended. It's why there was a beginning, there was a middle, then there was an end. And then as such, that's why they'll realize. Fucking hell, that was kind of wild. They'll realize that
It's anywhere we prophesize of wow,
bro, the way people drive, I'm like,
no, but even down there,
same thing. Because I was looking, I was like, bro, so I wouldn't be surprised. The way like people on bikes like riding the wrong way as well. I'm just like, bro, someone's gonna get hit. That sometimes some like sunshine fries people's brains. What was I saying?
it was happening before, so.
Well, that as far as for today, it's a much higher rate than usual. But with what you call it, the bounds being set. Yeah, all these prior kingdoms, you can go and you can find when they began and when they had an end. And then bro, I was like, bro,
Even if from him doing that, you can tell it's a hyperactive baby.
Yeah. Man, I was just being, yeah. But I was like, just for the road, I'd be like, stop just as a matter of course. Because you can't just be letting him just think, oh, just run rough into the road. Like, you know what I'm saying? But yeah. Yeah. And then with what you call it, with the bounds being set, it's the same thing for this kid. People have had the whole push like years back. I think it was Rand Paul was saying that China's going to come up next after America. As America was in the country, it was like 2012, 2011, when they were doing like the little adverts saying, saying the global language is going to go from English to Mandarin. Because why? China's going to be on the come up. But that's at least them knowing that America's going to have an end. But then they'll realize this whole system of the heathen ruling, that's going to be toast. And then even really, it's Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai is basically an olden crown. There's a crown that needs to be received on this earth.
But that's why they're going to say, surely thou art power that hideth thyself. Because when Yahweh Shai comes into play, they're going to be, it's something you could never really, they could never imagine happening. They're not looking for, like you said, they're not looking for, okay, yeah, next people that go it, the Israelites, you better start kissing them, kiss the baby. You better start treating them nice because they're coming into play. Like you have the parable of Lazarus. Basically, when he went up there, he said, yo, let me go down there. And he said, look, they have Abraham to teach them. Do you know what I mean? They basically have a means to understanding what they need to do. But they're not taking heed. Right? So, they're not in the know. Right now, we're out here doing, prophesying the word of the Heavenly Father. Right? Just like all our forefathers before the basic rule of great, terror and doom coming upon the earth, but people not taking heed to it. And that's, we've done our job, we've passed on the message. Alright? And you haven't taken heed to it. Hell, let alone are they even taking heed to the 70 hours worth of stockpiling that they're saying that EU, but they ain't taking it to that. So this just shows you this, you know, they're Epicureans in nature, whereby they just want to do what they want to do. They just want to enjoy it. They want to, you know, fill their belly. YOLO, you only live once, and then even on top of that, FOMO, you know, the fear of missing out. That's what drives them to even be more of like, you know, I need to do everything. I'll risk it all. Let me get a credit card and max it out. If I can get a loan, I'll put in another name. Whatever they can do just to enjoy the moment. Right? And even then, it'll be at the expense of their children sometimes. Say, my kids, I'll worry about them when they come, when they get older. I just need to live in the moment right now. So you imagine us telling them something like this is, you know, it's in one ear out the other. They don't want to hear it. Right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Hebrews 1:1. The Most High, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in times past unto.
I even show you sundry times. Sundry means sundry is sundry different or sundry before. I'm forgetting that. What it means sundry. The English actually sundry. It's different.
I think it's different.
Different times and different lengths.
I think it's times and sundry is the same.
Various kinds, several. Sundry. Sorry, read it again. Just to say one point.
The Most High, who at sundry times, who at sundry times and in diverse manners spake in times past
Unto different times and various manners. So the Heavenly Father basically told you in different times and in a variety of ways, and let you know that basically these things are coming into what He's going to speak on. It really shows you have no covering, no cloak for your sin. You don't have I didn't hear it, I didn't understand. Now the Most High said it in every which way you could imagine for you to get the message, right? And even within the Archive, you've got different types of brothers. Types of brothers. You know, you got brothers that have, you know, you can go from, you know, from both sides of the spectrum, whether it be, you know, the warish, road type, you know, once in the streets. And then you got brothers that are more educated, they're just regular, you know, or even from affluent backgrounds, and you got everything in between. Right? Something that you can, you know, you can sink your jaws into as far as getting this truth and work upon. Something funny, if you're laughing.
No, I was just fucking. I was thinking about something. Just a fucking video, old as fuck video of like what's his name? Bow Wow when he's like 5 or 6. He's in the club or something. And it's like, oh, you're so cute. He thinks he's a girl. He said, "That's a nigga, man." That shit is fucking funny.
I told you the channel will win. Yeah. Said the same thing, literally.
It's like, because it's
literally just said the same thing I said. Said it's a whole time to win it. I told you, it's like, bro, I'm saying it to you. I'm getting, I think you know what it is.
oh yeah.
I'm telling you, like, bro, I've been licked by fucking cold wind. Like, you just ain't feeling it because I'm taking it from this way and you're there. So if any of you think you're not feeling nothing, I'm lucky this body will be saving you. I'm telling you that. A little bit as well.
It's funny, I was gonna bring a drum room. I was like, we'll be out. Hath in these last days spoken unto us by his Son, whom he hath appointed heir of all things, by whom also he made the world. So yeah, Yahweh is what heir of all things. And as far as for us receiving our crowns is what we're being joint heirs. we're essentially allowed through grace, allowed to receive the same reward that Yahushua received, as long as we suffer as Yahushua did. But then obviously we're in the flesh, we're not going to be able to keep the laws perfect. But then that's why the grace is needed. And then that's written as what? Inheriting the earth. That's the reward, that's the end goal. When the 12 asking Yahushua, it's like, yo, what, we've forsaken everything, what are we going to receive? Then what? They get told we'll be on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Bearing rule. That's really what this is all being done for. And that again is why you can say it's like Christianity, that thing's complete confusion. You ask them, oh, you want to be saved, what does it mean? Well, it means you're saved from your sins. What does that mean? They don't know. They don't know about, well, you go into, in Hebrews, it goes into it more in chapter 7 and 8, going into the, what do you call it? Not the Testament, the covenant. The old covenant and the new covenant. And then why a new covenant's even needed as well. And then what the failure point of the old covenant, which was Israel. Israel was the failure point. They could not keep the task was set. They were unable to fulfill it. But then that's where Yahushua comes in. But then what comes part and parcel with that? Rule. Bearing the rule. And then the reality is you have the whole what's it called? Thinking of the philosophy of equality. That's something that's been, poured out. And that's really a modern post-civil rights kind of talking point. And then with it as well, the reality of all that equality is really the same thing as becoming what's the word? A Hellenization. Essentially, to be equal is for you to just become another cog of this society. That's really what they want. With what's his face, this guy, Matt Walsh, because Kaya Kwan was posted like what this guy is saying online, and this guy is really quite particular. Basically, it's just talking about.
Because some of the stuff I think I've seen.
Him basically talking about
colonialism.
Yeah. There's that, and then there was another thing as well that he said. Because it was
Carolina did a video. That's what kind of it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he's basically trying to say, oh, we're all doing a human sacrifice. Then Esau came along
and he just like taught you how to live like
what's happening, bro.
But then that's
we're getting like uppercut, punched back by the Moors. Us basically. We were doing a lot of weed. And you can say, oh no, we weren't. Because you can go to the architecture down there in Granada and you can see the type of maths they must have been doing to build those buildings.
But that's the whole
even with the castles during the medieval.
But that's the narrative though.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, you're just swinging up trees, doing this, and then we just came in and
what about the largest kingdom or the largest gated city in Nigeria? Down there in it's in between Edo State, like it's between the Yoruba kingdom and Edo. But it basically the largest walled city. They had to lock it down. The only thing you can see there is the outline of it, but they had to do that for what means? To basically establish it as a point of to build upon the narrative, basically, of like you guys are just monkeys sitting on trees. Like there weren't castles over there. Like what we talking about? They'll show the mud huts now, but that's one particular tribe. That's not the whole. That's not like the different
the whole
tribes that you have.
Come on, man. And it was just everyone's there in mud huts. Come on, but this was what like a day ago. This is one I was saying. I was just like, this guy is great. Thing with it anyway. I was saying is a far with him. He was presenting as amicable, so-called, that harmless, good Christian, whatever. just would, just have these back. But then the truth coming out, he don't like blacks. Because he said, if I told you that a young man stabbed another young man to death for telling him that he was in the wrong seat, and then I told you that one young man in this altercation was white and the other was black, then asked you to guess the race of the assailant, every single person would know the answer immediately.
Down to Liverpool, man. We need to go to Liverpool.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, bro.
Manchester.
I'm like, bro,
you need to go to Scotland.
I was like, bro, give me a break.
There's gangs down there.
I was like, give me a break.
Merry old England. Like this guy just.
I was like, bro, it's like anywhere in the world you're gonna find motherfuckers being degenerate low.
Yeah.
And then all we have to go into is as far as military interventions. Where's the peaceable? They're just nice and amicable. Give me a fucking break, bro.
Like I said,
what's the history of your country then, bro?
But like I said, this guy goes down to Manchester, goes down to Liverpool, different cities in Scotland. You'll be surprised that they're doing drive-bys, they're gang-banging, just like black people are. You'll be shocked. They're shanking each other up. They're doing everything that you would allocate to young African Americans or young blacks in different city centers. They're doing the same thing. This isn't something that's exclusive to our race. It's more exclusive to a set of, well, it is in a sense because the curses for one, but it's more exclusive to a circumstance. If you don't have like educated people around you with few sets of things that they can do in life, they're gonna all do degenerate behavior, man. Because they're in a degenerative, that's the code, degenerative set of environments. The environment is just black. It's gonna be black things.
And even then, it's with now you said it good enough. I'll say this: says young black males are violent to a wildly, outrageously disproportionate degree. That's just a fact. We all know it. It's time we speak honestly about it, or nothing can change. And I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, so you're saying all that. I'm like, bro, first of all, shut the fuck up. Anyway, but then it's the thing with what you call it, with the whole narrative being pushed. It's like you said, it's the curses on Jake. But then it's not. Jake isn't exclusively more violent. The awareness of it within the culture is going to be more in America because that's the narrative over there. But then it's like in the UK, bro, the Irish, them IRA motherfuckers were sending nail bombs. They were blowing up every blood cleat. They were laying down British soldiers. Like they were doing a madness over there. They weren't black. Most of them were Israelites, though. But then that's already been thrown in the bin. You said white, black. You try the whole. That's the thing with as far as a monopoly on violence. Even what Jake are doing is on a smaller, is on a near non-existent scale. Once you go into what Esau prophets do.
But that's what I was gonna say. Now, if we talk about modern warfare, we're talking about guns and going into different countries,
drone strikes,
it's a whole different type of story.
Missiles.
These people ain't doing it to garner more resources. They're actually doing it when we do it on a carnal level. They're doing it because they aim to eat. They aim to establish their power dynamic within.
The culture's been corrupted to a degree where it's like if you don't have a certain level of viciousness, you can be taken advantage.
And then what gives you your bread and butter is drug dealing or prostitution and violence is used to establish a line where people don't cross and try and take your food from out of your mouth. It's a bit more complicated than that, Matthew. But we get
that's the thing is it's basically because the truth of it is obviously that's something you've been holding in. But then it's going to be received as something. Now that Trump's in, it's basically open the floor for those things to be pushed out and not receive a lot of pushback. It's got 18 million views, 170k likes. So it's not even something that's controversial, really. But then that's just like this modern 12. All of those things are coming to the fore. But then in reality, that's all it costs. Because the thing is, as far as we're not, we're not getting upset. We're not tears in our eyes. Esau don't love us. We understand as far as Like with Esau, that's been MO. That's been the relationship from the jump. From in the womb, we didn't fucking like each other.
Yeah.
Amos 1:11. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Eden, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. That's the reality of it. That's the truth of it. The truth of it is, the dynamic between Jacob and Esau was set from before they were even born. And that dynamic is there was no love lost between them. They were never meant to come together as one. That's part of that new mentality. But then the reality of it is
that is actually lying.
The reality of it is nothing new. That same dislike, enmity between Jacob and Esau, that's not going to go away. That's going to continue in the kingdom. It's going to continue until Esau's at his end. Because why? That's how the Lord had it set up. But then what he's trying to do is basically make it like, oh, these guys are savages. And the thing is like, what was the end? The end bit is, or nothing will ever change. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Well, you're gonna have to go through and then start what cleansing the hood, sending Judge Dredd to take them out. Like, what's going on? But then it's all the racial tensions being built. Because why? Now is a time of chaos. The elites are looking to bring order out of the chaos. That means everything needs to go and just completely get let loose. That's why you're having like the political situation, the racial tension. These things are being pushed and increased to a degree. Because why? That brings about more chaos. Your people in the UK talking about the grooming gangs. That's the big one. The bright ones put onto. Oh, they talk about this, they talk about that. They don't talk about them grooming gangs. I'm like, bro, I saw the motherfuckers on the BBC when they'll get brought out. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But it's one of those narratives that's made up, that they make up online. They then try and transplant into reality. Because the reality of it is you're talking about Muslim grooming guys on the road. Elites have far more intricate, far more developed rings of all these things on a much higher level.
I guess it was a Pakistani that got out in the can.
Yeah, it was a Pakistani. Thinking Jeffrey Epstein was a Pakistani. But that's why it's like these.
And we're here to defend no other name, no evil. Well, we're here making it. Yeah, the man up. It's just the fuckery of evil. Exactly. That's what we're talking more about your wickedness, your deceitfulness.
Because that's the thing. It's all it's being bit. It's a narrative. It's a story.
Yeah.
It's a way to kind of get people's minds thinking a certain kind of way. Because that's the thing. It's like you talk to someone and then you break it down. They're
How you doing?
Hi, Desmond. Sorry for interrupting.
It's okay.
I was on the bus and saw you and was just, I think, interested
Okay.
to hear because I've, is it,
12 tribes in Israel.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was just interested to know more about what you were thinking and like what it's
about.
Yeah, what it's about.
Okay. Well, 12 tribes in Israel. This sign, the reason why we have this sign is because of prophecy in the book of Ezekiel, the Bible.
Yeah.
Right, so our main book that we don't swear by, but we get our information from is the Holy Bible, including the Apocrypha, which is the Apocrypha that was in the King James 1611. So in the book of Ezekiel, basically speaks about bringing together 2 bits of wood to put on the children of Israel. So as you can see here, I'll bring it over here. Judah is a head tribe, which is African Americans, right? Negroes over there. Then when you go down to Ben, and the way we get to this is by
Yeah, I was gonna ask it.
is the book of Genesis.
Okay.
Genesis 49 and also Deuteronomy 33. Alright, they basically sets out prophecies for the children of Israel in the last days. Alright? So Benjamin is the West Indians. So when you have all the islands like Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Lucia, so on and so forth, Benjamin. Even Guyana falls under some of the Panamanians as well that went over there to build the Panama Canal, but not particular the region, but the people that come from that region. So Benjaminites. Right, Levi, the Haitians, Simeon, the Dominicans, Zebulon, basically Central America, Ephraim, Puerto Ricans, Manasseh, the Cubans, Gad is the Native American Indians, alright? Reuben is the Seminole Indians, Naphtali is Argentinians, Chileans, Asher is Colombia to Uruguayans, and then Issachar is Mexicans. Now when you look on the sign, some of these people, you might see them and think, well, how are we related to the Native Americans and Latinos? Because we all fall under the same umbrella of people. But they were part of the northern kingdom of the children of Israel. So there was a split during the time of kings, after King Solomon, between Rehoboam and Jeroboam. And then that set people, the northern kingdom, basically left the Middle East and went over to the Americas. So even before they left, they were in captivity under the Assyrians. So during that captivity, it says in the Bible they were mixing a lot. So that's why there's a difference in phenotype, but there's also a similarity. So that's the main thing in terms of the children of Israel. But the reason why we're actually teaching right now is because we've been told to prophesy about the end times to bring all the children of Israel together.
Okay.
But any questions you got?
Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess my question is, none of these people are from the Middle East or the actual location of where...
At one time they were. So, like Africa, for example. Where are you from, if you don't mind me asking?
Congolese and French?
Congolese and French. Okay, how about what's your father's lineage? Congolese. Okay, so basically, for example, prior to us being in Congo, because even if you notice, like, because all these people, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they come from Hebrew or black lineage in West Africa or Central or up into like Senegal. That's what we all similar. We all share similarity in a sense. Even Uganda and different places as well. South Africa. But the point being is that those people migrated from the Middle East down through the Nile. So if you notice those people with that kind of look, they're all offshoot of people that would follow the Nile and then they would have partitioned off around the regions of that place. But before that, it was in the Middle East. So we was down there in Judea. But what happened is, we can go into the prophecy, whereby basically in 70 AD, you had what happened is Judea was no more. So we scattered to every which way. So you have people that they went towards India, they went down into like Saudi Arabia, they went up into Europe, and they went into Africa. We always went into there. But that's why you find certain sects of people, they might be ostracized in their nation because they are not of them. They pertain to these people. But when you got read this scripture,
Matthew 24 and 15 says, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in a holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand.
right. So this is basically speaking about the Lord speaking about prophecy. This would have been when he was alive, so somewhere around 33 AD. So
When you say the Lord?
the one the world called Jesus Christ.
Right. So are the 12 tribes of Israel, are you considered Christians?
True Christians, yeah, would say that because even when you deal with it, the word Christian goes back to Acts, the 11th chapter, the 26th verse. It was like something that was put on us as like a byword, like something that they're making fun of us. Oh, they follow after Christ, they're Christian. But in reality, a true Christian, the Lord kept the laws, the statutes, and commandments. He didn't celebrate Christmas.
I'll say the easiest way to say it is it's different. It's meant something different
Back then.
from what it's used as now.
Yeah.
As far as if you say we're Christian right now, no.
That's right.
We're Hebrew Israelites.
That's right.
Oh, that's what you guys are.
Yes, we're Hebrew Israelites. We practice
Israelite
customs,
traditions.
traditions and customs of being an Israelite. That's the easiest way to live. But with as far as us, we build the Old and the New Testament, and then with who the world calls Jesus Christ, obviously believing came, and he's going to return. But then a lot of things that Christians will believe, then we don't align with. Like we can go to the Trinity, Virgin Birth, Immaculate Conception, Christmas, Easter. These are things, those things go on to have pagan origins. But a lot of those customs, you have to go back to the Holy Roman Empire, the Council of Nicaea, Constantine, 300 AD, to kind of piece together what modern Christianity is.
That makes sense. I never knew Hebrew Israelites were. I only thought they were in the US, and I didn't know that they were community outside of America.
Oh, no, they're everywhere. We have a couple groups over here as well, the team. But also, what do you know of them? Just as a question.
What do I know of Hebrew Israelites?
Yeah.
I feel that it's a movement of black liberation through reclaiming the connection between blackness and the Bible that was sometimes erased with history. But to be fair, I don't know a lot about it.
To be fair, what you brought out isn't, I wouldn't even say it's necessarily wrong. The difference between us and other groups that would also call themselves Hebrew Israelites is they might make it say it's a thing that's explicitly black. It's like as the brother was bringing out with you go through the sign.
Yeah, that's what I'm
it's
saying.
It's not just something where it's just black. You have a variety of backgrounds to kind of harken back to it. And then if we were going to get into it, we're going to Israelite foreigners as well. But that's like a whole topic to get into.
But the reality is the Most High God is a black man, and his son, the one the world called Jesus, is a black man as well. That's exciting.
That's according to
My question is, so I'm a Christian. I'm from a Christian background, thinking about religion and spirituality and what it means. But when you say God is a black man and his son is a black man too, my only conception of God as a man is through Jesus. So if you say God is a black man and then his son, are you saying Jesus?
Yeah.
Okay, so this.
the Trinity. We don't follow.
Yeah, you don't follow that. So then I just want to know, when you say God is a black man, are you saying he was human as well, black man? What does that mean?
His image.
So, in that sense.
Basically, he's a man he has a physical form. He's sitting on a throne in the fourth dimension. If you read the Bible, read it. Well, read it. Daniel 7.
Daniel 7 and 9, it says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down.
Now this is talking about, if you read earlier on, it's prophesying about various different kingdoms. And that's speaking about those thrones. So if you have a kingdom, you'd have someone sitting on the throne.
Yeah.
So he's saying, I beheld till all those thrones were cast down, their rulerships went away gone.
And the Ancient of Days did sit.
The Ancient of Days is to the name Ancient of Days. So before time existed, the Heavenly Father,
whose garment was white as snow.
So the garment when he's wearing clothing is a white garment like snow. It's a white color.
And the hair of his head like the pure wool.
So yeah, really protects your hair. What texture is your hair?
4C.
Right? 4C.
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 Which is, oh, you know that?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you knew about
I'm not that
numbers.
particular.
No,
with,
I know 4. I don't know 4C.
That's
But I
my
guess it's. I've got cool schools here.
Yeah,
Like the proper, like,
Yeah,
you know, that.
it might be 4D.
Yeah, probably that. He's got better texture hair. We're brothers, but he's got slightly softer hair. I have the most coarse texture hair of all my family. But go ahead.
but it's that woolly hair.
Woolly hair.
Then it's the same with when you get to his son. He's also described as having hair like white woolly hair. So you know that certain dark skin.
Don't buy Teslas!
Then he also
Don't buy Teslas! Don't buy Teslas!
So we agree on that.
silver price. He says what his throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. So you know, for him to be wearing a garment, he has a body, and then to have hair on his head, there's got to be a head for them, to be on the body as well. So he's got physical form, which means he's got hair color, he's got skin color, and then this is what made his image. His son's made his image, so he obviously has a physical form. Then as well, the nation of Israel, who you call Jesus came out of, then they obviously have a certain look to them. Then you have variety amongst the tribe, of course. But then that's why the reason we teach it is part of it is so you can know, okay, so this is a book that is meant for us as well. It's a book that applies to us. But then it's also because now in the modern time, when you deal with the so-called black identity, there's a lot of negative attached to it. And it's kind of like as far as people to kind of look up to, people to emulate. You don't really have a lot of positive examples. But then, you go into the scripture, you go into the Bible, you find great men that, it's worthwhile to follow, men of character as well.
Women as well.
Yeah, men and women of character that finding that, they also look like you, they also come from the same background as you. That's going to be something that's empowering to hear and to know.
And that's even with that being said, that's why images had to be turned white. They had to whitewash it, iconoclasm. Because in order for them to establish a mindset and a narrative about our people, you basically have to scrub away any anything that basically shows us in a positive light. Right? Let me read this to back up your point as well. Hebrews 1:3. Who being the brightness, this is speaking about the Lord. I'll read from verse 2. It says, have in these days spoken unto us by his Son, whom we have appointed heir of all things, and by whom also he made the worlds, who being the brightness of his glory, and the express image of his person, and upholding all things by the word of his power. So basically the Lord is an express image. He looks just like the Heavenly Father. He's the only begotten, firstborn, and he looks just like his Father. So now you might as well go to Daniel 10, 5 and 6. Go to Daniel 2, 6. Because that builds upon Daniel.
So Daniel 10:5, it says, then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with the fine gold of Uphaz. His body was like
the golden girdle.
His body was like a beryl, and his face as
beryl is like a precious stone that's green in color. So his garment was green.
And his face as the appearance of lightning.
Lightning basically, I don't know if you're familiar with the story of Moses coming down from Mount Sinai, and his face was glowing. They had to wrap his face in a garment. That basically, brightness in his face like lightning, basically denotes wisdom. It goes into that in Ecclesiastes, the 5th chapter.
And his eyes as lamps of fire, and his arms and his feet like in the color to polished brass.
Polished brass. So basically saying he's wearing sandals, and you can see his feet, and they're like polished brass. So what color is brass?
My first language is not English, so I don't know.
Okay. It's like bronze.
Okay.
Bronze in color.
Okay.
So same as funny funny enough, he's wearing a colour that goes well with dark skin as well.
I hear that. Bronze to me would be
It's
not
like
black.
a brown, it's like a lighter colour brown,
To
right?
me, yeah.
Now, if you go into the etymology of the word bronze, it basically goes back to brass. It goes back to brown, or it goes into like a derivative of brown.
Okay.
So the point being is that
Yes, if you could also read like Revelation 1 as well,
that's what I was gonna.
as a description, where it's brass, is it burnished brass? Yeah.
Because it goes into it. But the point being is that all the people in the Bible are dark skinned.
I hear that.
And that's why it says, like I mentioned about Ephraim, Ephraim is the head tribe of Puerto Ricans, all right? The head tribe of the Northern Kingdom, all right? It says that Ephraim has basically mixed itself like with amongst the nations. They're like a cake unturned. So like if you have a pancake, you pour out the pancake mixture. On one side, if you leave it, it'll be brown, so it'll be like our complexion. On the other side, it'll be white, so like a light complexion. So Ephraim, they can look like damn near white people, down to you have what they call Negro, which basically is just dark skin. So that's the variety of our people. This is more, what it is colour is a thing that's been said about now. Where race is determined by colour, that's something that was sanctioned in the 1800s. It's very now. Because I got cousins that are mixed, so-called mixed race, but they have a West African last name. They can have children. They look white. Now it's like you have this white guy walking around with a West African last name. Is he now suddenly a white person?
I have just two questions and then I'll answer one. But my question is now, what is, if you're okay to answer, is there a plan of salvation? Because you're talking about the end times. So is your work that you're doing right now in trying to reunite the tribes, is it part of a plan for the afterlife or something after this world ends? And is it reserved to only those people and then white people and Arabs are not included in the plan and things like that?
So with
Read this to answer the question. Romans 10 and 14. How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe in him of whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. But they have not all obeyed the gospel, for Isaiah saith, Lord, you have believed our report. That's going further into the point.
yeah, because for the job we've been sent out. Part of our job, part of the job description is to go out to preach, to teach, to basically rouse people to the word, to who they are as a nation, and then the job role they have to do. If you're aware of the Lord Jesus Christ, what he basically has tasked you with to receive salvation, then you have to go out and teach it as well. What we're trying to do is wake them up to that truth, and then also make people aware of end time prophecies. As far as when you're saying like salvation from them,
But also, you're okay to just tell me stuff and then maybe I'll do it because...
Yeah, because it's what you're saying in the scripture.
Okay.
Romans 10 and 17, reading on, it says, so then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of the Most High. By saying, have they not heard? Yes, verily, their sound went out into all the earth, and their words unto the end of the world.
Yeah, so the words basically will go out to the whole world. Because
One more precept, but go ahead.
let me say, because it's gonna get too wild to explain.
It's just to build up the point.
But there's let me just because I'll think it's give us a because so as far as the first thing is we need to rouse our people. Then as far as for salvation, it's what we get saved from. It's end of the world. Jersey syndrome, or whatever they call it now, where he'll return in a cloud or a chariot back onto the earth, and then therefore heaven will be on earth. And we will partake in that. As far as for the governing body, is going to be the elect of Israel, those who basically stand and teach His word. But then those of Israel that aren't of that, they're still going to be saved and be in the kingdom. And then as far as for the other nations as well, they'll also be there. The only one that won't endure after 1,000 years is Esau. If you go into Obadiah, basically there's a certain period of time that's set where after which then it will be Esau will be no more. Esau applies to the so-called white people, which isn't
Anyone that descends from that line.
well, anyone that descends from the line of Esau. But the modern term would be so-called white people, but then it's not something that's simple as you go to a white person and say that. It's something about genetic lineage, like their father's 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 father has to go back to a particular man. It's the same thing with one that's signed to be of one of those nations. Your father's 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 father has to go back to a particular man. So you're going to have, everyone's going to be there, but then the system of rule is going to change. The current system of rule as it is now is going to be enacted. The laws we currently follow is whatever legislation is set by the UK government or the US or whatever. It's going to be set by the laws of the Bible. The rule, the form of governance is going to be through the scriptures, and then when it comes to how nations are managed, how all kinds of things, there are laws applying to that in the scriptures, and then those are going to be in effect. So that's what it means, the end of the world.
Okay.
And that's really what's, all the nations are going to be there, but then it's, as far as Israel's, they're set up as the governors, the rulers over the world to come, and then everyone else is going to be part of the rule. That doesn't mean it's the part of it is it's going to be a benefit to everyone, because why? As far as in this current system, this is according to the Bible, wicked rule, because all the kind of tenets and laws and everything they enact on this place is off the back of wickedness. Those who bear rule, they do it through wickedness. How do they gain their power? Blood, violence, theft, robbery. These are the things of how people build and attain in this world. That's all going to be put to an end to where it's going to be righteous rule, rather than if someone's done an ill. Now you might have an ill done to you. You go to the courts, and then you can't. If you don't have enough evidence, you don't have certain things. You're not going to get righteous judgment. But then we'll have righteous judgment. Says, the Lord said He's basically got angels watching over this place. So even if it's something that might just happen when you're alone in the dark, then there'll be a record to go back to kind of be able to have a righteous rule. So, order is going to be put back in. Righteousness will actually be enacted. Those are things that right now you can't find. So it's all these things I'm saying, it's like we'd have to go to the scriptures and break it down. But I'm just saying,
but thank you.
You say you got to run. So
Yeah, but it's interesting, and I'll keep learning about that. So.
But the main thing, if you never cross paths again, is basically the RFID chip.
That's
part of the agenda right now. Is they want to chip all the people on the earth, and technically not everyone, because also what they want to do is they want to call a lot of people. They want to get rid of. Basically, they only want to have 500 million people on the earth. So there's 8 billion people right now. They're prepared to kill that 7.5 billion people from off the earth. So whoever is left, they want to put RFID chip. That's known as the mark of the beast. So when you read about the mark of the beast, no man can buy or sell. So you need that happy chip. The mark, sorry, that's the microchip. So that's why you see the big push for like transhumanism, Neuralink, and different things like that. That's so, and you're taking away of cash and everything moving to a digital format with cryptocurrency, digital-based currency. That's to introduce that system. When that comes into play, World War III should make some time for that. So
Yeah, that's the main thing. As far as if you're gonna take anything away, be like, don't take the trip.
you're an
That's-
Israelite.
Yeah, you're
Your
Israelite.
Heavenly Father's name is Yahweh. That's his true name. Yahweh means he to be. That's the name he gave to Moses when he saw him. When he said, "Oh, what name shall I tell him?" He said, "Yahweh, I am." And then his son's name, his true name is Yahweh Shai. He deliverer, he savior. When you read Matthew 1 and 21, where it says he shall bring forth a son, his name shall be Jesus. When you go into the Hebrew, it's Yahweh Shai, which means he delivered. Those names have great power. So those names are basically like, it's like, say if like someone comes, what are you doing here? Like what authority are you here?
Yeah,
You say
yeah.
that name, nothing. It says the
it's
name of the
above all
Lord is
names,
a strong
yeah.
tower. The righteous runneth in are safe. So if you have those names, you're protected. But that's more or less that's an introduction
Yeah,
to
yeah, no,
where
definitely.
it is.
It's like if
It's
you're gonna
definitely
take one or two things away, it would be a name, and then
The seven evils that are gonna come.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't take the
trip.
don't take the trip.
You'll be in a worse state of affairs.
Yeah. The key with as far as with the mark is going to be the state of the world when it's brought in. It's going to be some, as far as the thing is now, like what was it, 2-3 days ago, Trump just put in tariffs that's basically tamping the global economy to where absolutely everything is about to get more expensive. The April, the energy, the limit on how much people can charge for energy caps are just gone. It's economically, it's about to get tight. You have, talk of the EU weaponizing further and getting involved in a war with, Russia as well. These are things where it's like, if and when these things come in, it's gonna get harder and harder, for everyday life to continue.
So that shit will seem like a good, out. Like, okay, if I get that, I'll be good. But it's the thing, this is the devil. This so-called white man is the devil. The Bible speaks of. So basically, like, about the serpent in the garden, the guy named Eve, this guy has no goods he wants to do. So if he does that to you, he's basically doing it with like you've got ill intentions.
Malicious intent.
So your life will be worse off with it than the perceived good that you get from it.
And the reason you don't want to take it is because anyone that does take it, you're basically barred from salvation.
Yeah.
If you're Israelite, you take the trip.
You're saying
no means
that's for God.
Yeah.
That's basically it's like you're saying the Most High can't save me. He's gonna save me, so I need to go to Him. But if you don't take it to the Most High, and I gave you the names, and hopefully bump into us again, then you'll be protected.
Thank you very much for your time. It was really interesting. I just never heard that much about it. So do you have this, I guess you're streaming live?
Yeah.
What platform do you on?
YouTube.
Okay, that's YouTube.
Yeah.
What's your
channel? GMS Quickening.
GMS Quickening.
GMS?
Quickening. You want to shout it to her?
Okay. Well, thank you so much, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you very much. Have a good one. Thank you.
Take care,
Yeah, I was like, I know you're gonna piece it together. I was like, if she's gonna scoop.
Did she say she had to go?
Yeah. The thing is, just 2 questions, no honest. And then I just wanted to go, so that's why I was like, okay, I was like, rather just give it to her the fullness of it.
If I heard that, I would have said, I would have just looked at it.
Yeah. That's why I was like, oh, you're piecing it together fully. I was like, if we do that, then it's gonna kind of just take your time. I'd rather get the fullness of it and get to, because the thing is like, it's she's just probably curious, but that's like really we need to kind of get to the prophecy, the point, and then just kind of But she was cool. She was cool. Yeah, I was thinking
Right. Oh, you felt it now. you know what I'm dealing with.
I was like, lost all sensation. I was
that's
like,
what I'm
bro,
saying.
hands starting to shake.
I was doing, I was holding it the whole time. And I
I was like, bro.
that's why I moved out the way and then you felt it. I'm like, bro, I'm getting licked down by this fucking wrench thing.
Yeah. I think it increased. Whenever the sun goes out, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. You can close up. Say, well, yeah, Lord willing, we'll be back next week. Say all praises to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahshua, Hashem, to Apostle, Shalom to the other one. Shalom.
I didn't got a jacket.